All right, welcome everybody. I am cameraless today, and Maxim will be joining in a moment so we can talk about markets together. What a week for crypto. Tons and tons of rallies across the board. A new all-time high for Bitcoin, a near new all-time high for Ethereum. It got within inches. We'll go over both pretty extensively. And we'll also be talking about some of the big trending stories, the latest with Trump, the latest with global economic impacts on crypto, and a whole lot more. So thank you all for being here. It's going to be, if you've never been part of these shows, you're watching on replay, live or otherwise, we are going to essentially talk about the on-chain and social metrics for crypto and how things are kind of affecting prices under the hood, the way things may not appear on your Twitter/X timeline or your Telegram groups, where there are a lot of discussions about support and resistance levels. We're going to go a little deeper into how many actual addresses are interacting on the network, how greedy or fearful is the crowd at any time. And by doing so, we can understand the actual utility of the many coins that you're investing your valuable money in, the actual social sentiment of those coins that you're relying on so much. So we will get to a lot of this. As you can see, I'm starting with a little bit of Bitcoin because understandably it's been the talk of the town, even though coins like Ethereum, XRP, Cardano might be inching or more than inching above its price performance over the past week. But Bitcoin has, of course, allowed the rest of crypto to do this. I'm not saying this as some sort of maxi for Bitcoin. That's not who we are at Santiment. Personally, I don't even own cryptocurrency. That really is the truth. I don't have a bias in the game, but we analyze Bitcoin because of the fact that it allows the rest of crypto to thrive. When it goes up, you tend to see profit redistributions that trickle into other assets. Maybe down the road, years or decades later, this will be different. But for now, Bitcoin is the biggest pairing in crypto. It is the one that anytime someone buys Ethereum, not every time, but many of the times, they're exchanging Bitcoin for Ethereum. So Bitcoin's price and market cap and performance is largely allowing the tens of thousands of other projects in crypto to be able to go up or down or otherwise. So now that that ramble is over, 90% of you already know that, I'm going to go over a few of the metrics here, and Maxim should be joining any moment. Our transaction volume for Bitcoin to start out. We saw big spikes here in the middle of July, about 1 month ago, over 46, 48, 45, $47 billion worth of transaction volume these 4 days. And immediately we see a turnaround. Yes, we had one more little inch up that was not as high as the initial high back here on July 16th. However, I'm sorry, July 13th. However, you'll often see, if you follow TA or other practices of trading, even outside of crypto, when it doesn't make a higher high, usually not a good sign, especially when there's a bearish divergence in utility, like there was here in transaction volume. We saw one more big spike here, and then we've kind of fallen back down to normal range. Yes, we had our all-time high on the 13th, but the transaction volume here at about $30.88 billion was not nearly where we saw at $48.87 billion, about exactly $10 billion less than the big high that happened a month ago. So if we just look at transaction volume in a vacuum, it tells us, well, there's probably not enough utility to justify that this rally can continue, even though price went up. So from a very simple perspective, one more thing here. There's the price, roughly, right there. And then here's transaction volume, right there. So essentially, we're seeing a bearish divergence from the transaction volume end because price went up, but transaction volume has gone far, far down when comparing their two peaks from month to month. But of course, transaction volume is only a very small portion of the story. We have many other utility metrics here. Daily active addresses, which measures the amount of unique addresses interacting on the network. That showed one big spike here on August 7th and then fell back down. Circulation, one big spike here on July 15th and that fell back down. And even network growth, yes, we saw a big spike on the same day as active addresses. That's often the case because network growth is the amount of new addresses interacting on the network or being created. So that will lend to daily active addresses. They both spiked the same day, but started to fall back down even as price grew. It doesn't mean this rally here after the spike is fake or should never have happened or was like this big fool's gold event, but it means that the sustainability of the network is being tested due to the falling utility along with rising price. Hopefully that makes sense. From an MVRV perspective, mean value, realized value, or essentially the average returns across different time frames, this is probably my favorite on-chain metric outside of whale behavior, which we'll get to. They go hand in hand. In short, the 30-day average trading returns sits at about 0.8%, so about as even as you can get. Generally, you want the MVRVs to be in negative range because if you're looking to buy or invest confidently in any coin, the best times to do so historically are when both the short term here in orange and the long term here in teal are well into the negative range. And you saw two instances of that here on March 10th and of course during the tariff scares during the first/second week of April when we saw bottoms. In hindsight, you're saying, of course, these look like big red candles. Why wouldn't I invest? Well, sometimes you see big red candles and it doesn't really result in a big turnaround. You might see like a dead cat bounce. Well, if the short and long term are well into negative range here, that indicates that we're likely in a huge pain point when looking at other traders' performances. Other traders' performances matter because you're not just all in it together and on the road to Lambos. This is a zero-sum game just like any other sector out there. And you typically are going to see the best results when others are in pain, and you're going to see some of the worst results when everyone else is in party mode because they've made huge profits. So right now, after seeing this pain point in April, seeing this euphoric point in May and in July, we saw a little bit of that euphoria just a couple days ago with the long-term average returns at about plus 25%, and the short-term at about plus 4%. Not that scary compared to a few of these other moments, like when you see the orange and teal both, roughly above this line that I just drew right here. So right here, super scary, super scary. Those are indicative of very likely tops. Nothing's a guarantee, but very likely. We saw this one well above this line, but this one still had a little meat on its bone, and then it fell back to earth as Bitcoin retraced to 117K, 118K, where it is at the time of this live stream. So that said, the short term indicates we can really go either way right now. We've seen the fairly sizable red candle after the all-time high, let a lot of people down who were really getting into Bitcoin at the 123K, 124K level. But that's fallen back down pretty significantly. And from what I see now, the short term can allow people to get back in. The long term, however, still up at about plus 21%. That's a mild danger zone. 365 days is a pretty long time, right? So anyone active in that time can be up or down, and you can see pretty wild swings. Plus 21% on a 30-day scale would be really scary, but on a 365, yes, it's not good. You don't want it to be above zero, but it's still in a reasonable range where it could go a little higher. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a bounce. Maybe we get back to plus 25% for the long-term MVRV, plus 5 to 10% for the 30-day, and then we see a further retrace. But this is only partially the story, and we need to look at more, including the greed and the fear of the crowd, as well as how whales are behaving, because that's just crucially important. So before I transition into some social metrics, let's look at the latter, how whales are behaving. By the way, Brother Maxim, are you with us yet? Not just yet. Okay, so from what I see on the 10 to 10K BTC line, they have been accumulating up a storm. Even after this big all-time high happened, you can see how the combined holdings of Bitcoin wallets from 10 to 10,000 BTC have climbed another 23,000 BTC over just the past 72-ish hours or so. We'll have another complete candle. This happens once per day. So this will close at midnight UTC time, and then we'll have another idea if they're continuing to accumulate going into the weekend. So all looks pretty good, especially when you take into perspective the fact that we were way back here on March 22nd, where this group of Bitcoin holders was at about 13.4 million Bitcoin, and now they're way up here at about 13.61 million Bitcoin. That's a giant leap. If I hold down shift here, which you can do on Bitcoin yourself, whoops. I think I hear Maxim join.
Yes, can you hear me?
I hear you. Give me one moment because you're a little crackly. I'm just going to finish this point.
Okay.
Yeah, they've since March 22nd, when they were kind of bottomed out, they've accumulated a massive 219,000 Bitcoin. And this group is crucial because they hold about 2/3 of the entire supply of Bitcoin. So that is really something you should be paying attention to. And I like the sign that since this top, they haven't slowed down. This isn't one of those tops where you suddenly see the whale holdings starting to crash, indicating that we could be on our way down rapidly. Okay. Brother Maxim, how are you, my friend? Test, test. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Let me just unmute again. Good. Sorry. Super hot. Had to do something. Took some longer time. Think before. Doing good. I think market finally giving up some of the profits and provoking people to take profit eventually. Yeah? And we should enter. I mean, anyway, before me talking too much, you already covered some ground, right? And today you're not without camera. I'm the only one superstar on the camera today.
Yeah, you're the only superstar. I am a little under the weather, and I didn't want to pain the audience by seeing my sick face today. So
Okay.
No worries whether you want to be on camera or not. But
No.
we'll
But
go through the
at least
metrics.
one of us, yeah. Just sorry for disturbance. This fan, it's very hot in Europe now. I know 35, unusual, and it's not. I don't know. Some parts of Europe has air cons, but here, like Germany, Switzerland, we don't have it. So this one thing saving the life.
No problem.
Yeah.
It's super hot over here too. But yeah, as far as what we've covered, I talked about the Bitcoin all-time high, Ethereum inching very close to an all-time high, and then the expected retrace as people got a bit too greedy. We covered MVRV, a lot of Bitcoin's on-chain metrics, as well as just some general market psychology and TA so far. So we can transition into social metrics maybe and look at some of the sentiment if you like.
For MVRV, did you look into Bitcoin or also Ethereum, some altcoins?
Only Bitcoin so far. So
how much is it? I didn't check actually MVRV on Bitcoin itself.
Yeah. So where we're at now, we're at about break even for 30 day and at about plus 21% for the 365 day. So short term can go either way. Long term still looks risky.
Okay. And if you take 90 days, or is it how many days?
Sorry, you broke up there. Man, I need to figure out why I can't hear you too well on my headphones, because I'm sure you're coming in clear for the audience. It's something to do with my screen share.
Max, maybe I pressed some button because I pressed like going live and everything.
Whatever you were doing 1 minute ago, you sounded clear.
I did what?
You sounded very clear a minute ago, and then you started to crackle up a bit.
What did I do?
Now you sound good.
Okay. Didn't do anything, but okay.
Okay.
Like the market. Nothing changed and suddenly it drops.
Exactly. I'll figure it out if it happens again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on the MVRV side for Bitcoin, short-term normal, long-term a bit risky. If we switch to Ethereum really quick.
Yeah, let's check, because this is where the most of the gains, I mean, from top coins appeared.
Yeah, it
Take
looks
maybe
way
90
scarier.
days again in 1 year.
You want me to back out to 1 year?
No. Yeah, 1 year and then 90 days.
90. Okay. We'll just do this, this, and this. There we go. Okay, so
Okay.
here's 90 days. It's way up at about plus 40% right now.
That's a lot. Okay.
365 is way up at about 57%
Wow, this is
right
really
now.
a lot, yeah.
And 30-day is over that rule of thumb danger zone of plus 15%, just at about 15.5.
Can you check historically 365 days? Like take maybe last 3 years, so that we have also let's move to 2021, both May and November tops, like both tops. I want to see what was the MVRV at the time. Just curious.
Okay. I'll just back it out and do 2020 all the way to 2025.
Okay.
All right, so way high back in April 2021. That's when we had the then all-time high of a little over 3,500, or actually it got all the way up to 4,100 here in May.
Okay.
Then we had a smaller one as its price hit its true all-time high in November, getting a little above 4,800. So 83% there. And then here was 146%, which is probably never going to happen again.
Okay.
Then we go way over here to March 2024, where we go back over 4,000 for the first time in 2.5 years. And then we stumble down. This one was way...
How much was in 24 in March?
84%.
80. So it does go to like, can go to 50% is above. Okay.
Oh, yeah. But see, in my opinion, Maxim, maybe you agree, the younger the asset is, the more likely it is to have these big swings because there's less overall traders on the network. So the sample size is smaller. So as it ages, the likelihood that we're going to reach these sky high MVRVs become much less because there's way more traders that make the average a bit more even. That's my theory.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So here in November 2024, this was only about 9 months ago, we only got to about plus 27%, where we went just a little above 4,000, and then we crashed very rapidly after Trump was elected. Lots of FOMO going on during this time. So it wasn't so much about Trump's actions as much as the greed that ensued from the crowd as a result of him being elected. So they finally get super fearful around the second week of April. MVRV gets down as low as negative 43%, and then we skyrocketed, and prices have gone up about 170-ish% since then.
Okay.
And then we peaked at plus 64% for the MVRV.
Okay, so with MVRV, we are definitely in the territory which can allow even bigger drops. If even, we need to keep in mind, it also allows, after liquidating shorts or scaring away those who are hustling to raise the money and bring into Ethereum, so people don't give so easily money, say it can be very volatile. So it could be a good sign. If we go to, let's say 4,2 looks very likely. I mean, when I look just on the price action, 4,2 looks like we must visit it. But still, MVRV is not ultimate high reading. This is what I see now from the chart, and this is for auditorium. So we should not give up on not yet on possibilities to make even higher high. But let's continue. We just started. I have not checked yet, or we have not checked yet much of our social metrics. Do you have on your screen this higher high, higher, lower? I don't know what to call it. It will be again a kind of shorter term, weeks. Usually this is how we identify what might happen next weeks.
So I'll just type it in really quick.
Okay.
Higher or above, and BTC or Bitcoin.
Okay. And then you compare with lower or below.
So I'll just copy this, save some time. Lower or below. And we'll just go to the past week. So we want to see yellows. We don't want to see blues. Blues indicate greed. Yellows indicate fear. Generally, when you see a lot of blues, it indicates that a top is coming. You saw this perfectly right before Bitcoin's all-time high here, and then we dropped off fast, and then we saw some big yellows. So this makes a lot of sense right here. Are you seeing anything yourself, Maxim? It looks like right now there's a little more FOMO than fear.
Wait a second. Yeah. I need to ask. Yeah. Okay. Now full screen mode. Okay. Now I see it big. Finally, I was learning how to. Yeah. Can you change BTC or Bitcoin for it or Ethereum? I think we have more talks there than in Bitcoin. Or we had at least last weeks. Yeah.
Switch the price.
Still interesting. It actually declined. Yeah. Declined amount of talks, which is maybe it's okay because we're kind of coming out of the top. But see here. So blue one is bullish expectation. On Ethereum, we start seeing some red candles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the red candles in this case are the fear candles.
We need one more. I remember then, or actually on the screen also visible. Once you have two of them, which was on just yesterday, like red candles higher than blue ones. It's a very, very unscientific. But it just shows you it's a aggregation by 4 hours. Yeah, it's just 2 times 4 hours snapshot. 4 hours snapshots. There were more expectations of lower price, which could be a good sign for a bottom. Even though in our case now, if someone is interested in short term, 3 is secure, kind of secure, as secure as it can be trading. If 3 times we see red is above blue one, and don't forget to aggregate by 4 hours, yeah, then looks like a good sign, yeah. We'll see. One is about to finish forming. Well, it's only 2 hours past, yeah?
Correct.
If I judge by the size of the candle.
It helps if we put shared axis, but then it looks like higher or above is just always above. So this is the true amount of values when they're on the same axis.
Okay. So we never. Okay, actually keep shared axis. I think take 1 month, less 1 month. When we really hit a more sustainable bottom, this you see. When was it? 2nd of August. Look at 2nd of August. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Lots more red here.
It's a very very good solid bottom. even on absolute value, it will be more. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
We should get there. But intermediate can come earlier, just even on a relative axis. Yeah, possible too.
Yeah, and you can see here as it was topping,
Oh yeah, double.
look at the widespread, not just the size of the blues, but the ratio between the blues and the red. Huge gap.
Oh, we need to make a metric like ratio. Oh.
Yeah, they're working on it. So this was a request I had for the Sandbase team, and they should have a ratio button soon, just like this social dominance button, and it'll allow us to see, higher or above divided by lower or below, and that is amazing once it.
So you can kind of have a line of ratio of one. It's kind of like sentiment, very interesting, trivial, but not trivial because no one is using. I think beyond this, how many people we have on the call? 20 people, and some people on our team. This is the amount of people who use this indicator, so it doesn't need to be too complex. Okay.
For now, once I put an article together, sort of
there'll
teaching
be
it
more.
and give everyone the bookmark, I think it'll be more used. We just have to.
Now,
have
question:
it
if we need to share it, or we keep it for those who not afraid of coming to our stream on Friday?
Yes.
Maybe keep one for people. Okay, this one we shared, and everyone just makes this. It's very simple query, and track it every 4 hours to decide, or after a price jumps or significantly, if it impacted enough. Okay.
Yeah, you guys will see an insight out today about this. We'll do it for both Ethereum and Bitcoin, so you can get an idea of how it works. But it's very powerful, and as we've done in the past, Maxim, we do of course have the ratio, as you mentioned, for
right. There is
positive versus negative sentiment. So this is just our sentiment score, where our algorithm takes all the bullish comments versus all of the bearish comments, and you can see this gold line that basically divides them. And not surprisingly, we're seeing a pretty big bullish narrative today, especially because people think that this is the dip buy opportunity. So we drop from 124, that new all-time high. We get back down to 116, 117, and suddenly everyone's like, all right, this was the opportunity for you to get in. Better buy the dip now. And oftentimes, as we've talked about, Maxim, when people think it's time to buy the dip, it isn't yet time to buy the dip.
Okay.
So there's Bitcoin. If we look at Ethereum, not as crazy, which is interesting. So Ethereum's gone on a much bigger run percentage-wise, but the ratio of bullish versus bearish comments is actually pretty dormant. It's not really showing anything too special right now. So I'm actually somewhat encouraged by this for Ethereum. Of course, it still depends on Bitcoin not crashing, but Bitcoin is at a bit of a risk, as we saw. So this would all go out the window if Bitcoin starts to fall down to 110, 105. No matter how strong you may think Ethereum or XRP or some of these other altcoins are, they're still going to be dependent on Bitcoin. So just take this with a grain of salt, because we need to make sure that Bitcoin can stabilize and not continue to retrace.
Yeah.
So other things, maybe we can look at some more social metrics here. I already talked about whales, and they look pretty good here, Maxim. Even after the all-time high, they've shown that they're not dumping at all. They're actually accumulating.
And small ones did not rush in?
Yeah, good question. So on the small end,
everything up, first group, everything up to 0.1. It's like really, this one, yeah? Oh, wow.
So they're going up too.
It's a bit, this doesn't look a little bit not so good.
Exactly. We'd ideally like to see them do this red line here going down, because you can see red going down and the whales scooping up those coins. And you can see what that did with the price here with these dark green columns. These are the closing price of every single day. But right now they're both kind of going up together, meaning it's actually like the super large exchange wallets that are the ones that are dropping, as retail and institutionals are still kind of buying together. So we'd like to see the retail slow down their FOMO, start to dump and decide that the top is in, and that would help signal that the bottom is actually in and we're about to go back up. Our mantra at Sentiment is prices go the opposite direction of the crowd's expectations. We say it many times, and it's how many of our metrics are designed around. Total amount of holders too, Maxim. Take a look at this. Right about here, August 5th, we started to just surge. We were at 55.96 non-empty wallets. Now we're at 56.43 million just 9 days later. And that's an almost 1% increase in a very small amount of time.
That's a warning sign. That's a warning sign, yeah.
Right. So retail is definitely starting to pack in and get the FOMO fever, thinking about the Lambo. And
so we need to cool down. Now it's actually quite obvious from all these metrics need to cool down. Yeah, also based on the price structure, it's for Bitcoin not so obvious, but I remember from Ethereum looking at the price, 4,2 is very attractive to revisit this level.
Right.
And anyway, we moved too far and quite fast. It was long time nothing, and then we surged so much in Ethereum. Yeah, anyway, but it's a price action. Okay, amount of hodlers growing so quickly. It was a good warning sign. Is it possible to take on top of it some indicator? Can you select like 7 days or yeah? No. I mean, this you leave as it is.
Gotcha.
Like
a moving average.
Yeah. Okay. It doesn't smooth some. Okay. The shape of a nominal change is similar to smooth one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What else have you prepared?
So I also had over here the top trending stories. I was informed that the alpha narratives for this week is not ready for this week. So we'll do trending stories instead and look at a few of the big stories that have kind of moved markets and caused some of the big fluctuations. Besides just TA traders buying and selling, they're reacting to the news that we see on our trending stories dashboard here. And the first and most important, according to the crowd right now, is the Tether treasury minting $1 billion of USDT on Ethereum. And this signaled a major liquidity boost. The US July PPI was hotter than expected at 3.3%. And this reduced the odds of a September Fed rate cut. Yeah. So kind of a bittersweet news because many are, just like Trump, hoping for Fed rate cuts because
not just hoping, insisted.
Yeah. No, there's very aggressive narratives out there about the Fed rates and Jerome Powell sitting on his hands. People are unhappy about it because they want their wallets to go up. And
why don't you simply do? I saw the jokes. Executive order saying that now inflation is 1%.
Yeah, right. That's all it takes. Just announce it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the hottest trending story. So a lot of USDT being minted, allowing for some more liquidity to trickle in. We also have some US news about the strategic Bitcoin reserve using confiscated Bitcoin valued at $15 to $20 billion. And that this was confirmed by the US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. While the Treasury will not buy Bitcoin directly, it's exploring budget neutral methods.
Yeah. I think this is what they agreed already some time ago, but good to see some number. I didn't know the number. Okay.
Yeah, and confirmation. I think it was kind of speculated up until now. Okay. Also, altcoin season. We've talked about this, Maxim. When people believe that it's alt season or it's time for prices to go up crypto-wide, that often is a top signal. When the focus starts to go off of Bitcoin, and now everyone's talking about how much Cardano and Solana are going to pump, that's a bit of a caution signal as well. Cardano almost got to $1, I saw. Chainlink got above 24 for the first time in like 7 months. So there's a lot of different milestones that are coming right now and causing some euphoria that we don't want to see. Also, Solana facing SEC delays on their own ETF approval. So we have ETFs for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP now, Most people are saying that Solana is going to be next in line, and there's delays at the moment.
Eventually. Eventually it could be, yeah.
Yeah. Trump and Putin talking, discussing the Ukraine war. That's going to have any change in the status between the Ukraine and Russia conflict will have massive effects. We saw how big of an impact it had back in February 2022. I believe I've got that month right. That's when it first kicked off, and we saw a huge retrace in crypto for a couple of weeks, and then we rebounded. But this has been an ongoing thing for 3.5 years now, and many people are simply waiting for some good news that this conflict can be over, and that would undoubtedly have a positive impact on the global economy and crypto should a truce and peace come to effect.
Even though, on a tactical level, yes, and I do wish it's over. But when you look on all the steps and activities taken now by the current administration, it's obviously pointed to make conflicts, financial, economical conflicts.
Right.
He does appears like he wants people to, or nations to stop wars and everything, but at the same time launching a lot of financial troubles inside the country, as far as I understand, a lot of tensions more than before, and outside country too. And economical conflicts or wars, it's much worse than, because, of course, it's not worse in a direct sense, but it means it's just the first step of what comes next. So temporal relief, yes, but I do think mid to long term, it will not end up bad, yeah, financially, economic. So we should be always prepared for one kind of crashes. You never know. We keep talking about. Everyone keeps talking about from time to time, and from point of behavior analysis of the market, when there is real seek for peace and collaboration and working no borders, working things together, this is where everything grows. It's a sign of good development in direction of growth. When there is more and more borders, conflicts in sides and with others, doesn't matter what people say, like Trump, he say or announce whatever. It's obviously action, say much more than words. This is the environment where stock market definitely will go down. Question when, and crypto will have this biggest test. It might, from time to time, do very good activity just because the government might have no other choice than to increase inflation. So it will be interesting to see how crypto behaves in such environment. But it was my rant.
No, I love it.
Explanation to Trump, Putin, whatever they say, agree. It doesn't matter much. Trump is not looking for peace; he's looking for conflicts.
Well, I have a follow-up question on that. Do you the prevailing theory by some long-term crypto enthusiasts is that war and conflict and the threat of the apocalypse and the downfall of capitalism could actually benefit crypto more than any other sector in the world?
That's, eventually, yes.
Just the way this hedge, similar to like gold and silver, right? Some people still call it the digital gold, even though Bitcoin and the S&P and gold go very different directions these days, or the S&P and crypto do, but gold goes a very different direction. So do you still think there's viability to that theory?
But definitely, yeah. It's just the way that it's not simple or straightforward. There will be, or let's say, when there is, and we can see it in our narrative, it's imagine situation. Stocks market crashing, inflation is crazy, and Fed is not cutting rates, but crypto is outperforming. So there will be narrative, okay, this is the way how people preserve their wealth. If we see 5% or even 10%, even better, but 5% enough of dominance or mind share of such a narrative, we will come to the top and then we will change direction. So if even it's, at least I hope so, correct assumptions, still we need to be very careful and mindful that once it's shared by majority, and they say, yeah, we told you, it is a way to keep your wealth, just out of nowhere, out of blue, it will suddenly change the direction. Yeah. So always need to be very careful with this. But generally, could work in the way as you described here.
Gotcha. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
And we're looking at the differences
Yes.
in prices right now, and we do see Bitcoin and the S&P kind of moving two different directions. I was just checking the S&P separately, and I saw for today, yeah, it's kind of going the same direction as crypto. So once this updates, you'll see that it's kind of dropping the same way Bitcoin is. Meanwhile, gold has taken a bit of a backseat too. But there have been, especially like between Bitcoin and gold, if I just take off the S&P, look at how they've almost been inverse for much of the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Here, gold goes up, Bitcoin goes down. Gold goes up, Bitcoin goes down.
Yeah.
Gold
There was a
stays
time.
up. Yeah.
There was a time it was outperforming. Now, yeah.
So it's not quite an inverse correlation, but there's an argument that they're about as far correlated as we've seen in quite some time. Also, Maxim, the Bitcoin ETF flows right now. We haven't talked about that yet. There was a report that Ethereum's ETF inflows are actually outpacing Bitcoin's ETF inflows now. What do you think about that?
Or looks like now, in hindsight, it was a top signal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
more money moving into an altcoin than Bitcoin.
Because it sounds very convincing that finally Ethereum is winning. Now nothing stops in front of new all-time high. Very easy to believe in it. And I partially believe. If the price structure didn't look so promising anymore. Yeah. So 1 billion, it sounds cool, so clear. 1 billion inflows, the biggest.
Right.
And this kind of narrative, and it was, I think, quite widespread, at least in the crypto-related media. I saw it in quite a few places. But again, it's in hindsight. Next time it will be something else. So.
Yeah, I mean, the flippening crowd from 2016 and 17 probably would be very proud to see a stat like Ethereum's ETFs outpacing Bitcoin's ETFs. But the reality is, if you start to see one ETF going higher, it's likely because the same crowd that was moving money into Bitcoin is now simply moving money into Ethereum instead, because they see Ethereum going way up compared to Bitcoin. Almost, or I think it did 3x at one point since that tariff drop. So people see that, and institutionals are human too, and they decide, okay, we think Ethereum's a better investment now. And that is a bit of a top signal. I agree with you, Max, because it's an indication that people are more greedy toward an altcoin. Some people don't call Ethereum an altcoin. It's up for debate, but either way, non-Bitcoin assets, when they're outpacing Bitcoin in terms of inflows, it's a sign that greed is starting to get a little out of hand. And we've now had 7 straight stock days where there's been inflows again for Bitcoin ETFs. That's a good sign. Before that, though, 4 big outflow days as Bitcoin's price was going down. So one can say this was kind of mirroring what the key stakeholders were doing on-chain. But yeah, overall, at least it's looking like the money is moving back into Bitcoin, just kind of slowly compared to some of the big daily piles of money coming in back here. And then I also had a quick update on some of the whale movements for various altcoins. So this dashboard is great. It's completely free for you guys to try out. We post about it maybe once every couple of weeks on social media and our insights page. So you'll see links for it all over the place. In short, this looks at all of the transactions specifically that move to centralized exchanges for various altcoins. And if it's over $1 million in value, it shows up here. And it'll show, you can sort by time, where you see mostly Ethereum over the last hour. You can sort by just overall value, which is usually dominated by Ethereum. They have by far the biggest transactions. Outside of Bitcoin, which will not show up on this dashboard, this is strictly for ERC20 assets. But if we did have Bitcoin, they'd be showing up here a lot as well. You see wrapped Bitcoin though, and plenty, between $25 million to $40 million. These two huge $89 million transactions happened simultaneously. You can see which exchange they went to. These went to Coinbase. Wrapped Bitcoin went to Bitfinex and Binance. You see some Kraken and BitCub. So that's really interesting to see. You can even see, what kind of deposit address it was, or the whale that made the deposit, I should say. And that can be really helpful as well. And then my favorite way to sort is by looking at the percentage of market cap. And that's when you can find some really obscure altcoins that maybe you haven't looked at much in a long time or ever. Alchemy being one of them, with over 10% of its market cap being moved in one transaction. And when these dollar values or coins move to exchanges, it's very often a sign that we are going to see a local top, because coins usually move to exchanges for just one reason, and that's to sell off. And these are whales doing it. It's not retail that hold millions of dollars in these coins. So Alchemy having over 10% of its market cap move, for maybe the one of you watching this video who's ever invested in Alchemy, I don't want to say too much about it, good or bad. I just know it's a pretty obscure coin. This would be very interesting news for you. Global Dollar USDG, Apex token. Our favorite, Maxim, Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu on the Ethereum network. That saw over 3% of its market cap move.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, GHO, First Narrow, Plume, Zigcoin.
So I kind of start reacting to the initial wave of selling out. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
we will see much more now. I think I just checked. Ethereum went below 4.4 or 4,450, and if it continues as looks likely 4.3, we might see much more here. Deposit to exchanges of different meme coins, not only meme coins, altcoins too. I don't know how to quantify or define the level of this deposit, which can be considered reliable signal for bottom, like panic. Maybe still visually easier way with age consumed, but here you see more detailed percent of supply, which is of course you don't see so clear on the chart. You can assume by the size of age consumed, the kind of, but here you see clearly, and anything above 1 or 2% of supplies, it's big, especially for bigger coins.
Yeah, agreed. If I see over 2%, that's pretty much the baseline that there's about to be a pretty sizable price change. So these are usually top signals, not bottom signals. So remember that this is kind of a warning sign, deposit radar or dashboard that you can use if you're a big altcoin swing trader, especially. The last thing I prepared was just a quick activity matrix update. We haven't looked at this in a while, Maxim, but as you would imagine, there's going to be a lot of yellow, orange, and red labels. These colors automatically change based on how hot or cold the network is compared to its 3-month average. So it's almost all red, orange, yellow. Some of the hottest, if we go to the leaderboard, would be Radium, Chainlink, 0x, OKB, and Ethereum. So there's actually a couple pretty large cap assets here between Ethereum, OKB, and Chainlink. Chainlink's been on quite a run itself. The Marines have been out in full force and talking about the achievement it had, getting over at $24 again for the first time since January-ish or February. And then you can look at it by category too. So OKB just had its largest active address day. 0x, Anchor, Audius, Golem, KuCoin shares. You see the ones next to their name? That means this is their first largest network growth day that it just had. Look at all these whale transaction leaders. Cardano just had its largest whale transaction day. Chainlink, Ethereum. These were the past 24 hours, guys. This is just right now. So after the Bitcoin all-time high. Usually not a great sign if you're seeing a bunch of whale transactions firing off for some of these large cap altcoins right after Bitcoin makes an all-time high and all these altcoins go on a huge run. It's usually not a sign that whales are accumulating. It's a sign that they're taking profit. From a positive negative sentiment perspective, you've got assets like Anchor, KuCoin, Lido Finance, the 14th largest market cap, OKB, Pendle. These three are some pretty large market caps in the top 70. Social Dominance, 0x. Cardano just had its highest social dominance day. That's very significant. Synthetics is up there as well. Exchange inflow, we see a big inflow of coins from Ethereum name service. Mean dollar invested age, Ethereum. Let's check this out really quick, Maxim. So if we go to, I'll just add it right here. Unlock dollar. Yeah, check this out, Maxim. So we have the mean dollar invested age that's really started to drop off pretty much since the second week of July.
Sorry for typing.
No problem. So this is the past year. If you can see this, Maxim, the mean dollar invested age has dropped by about 5% over the past.
After a long time, it was not dropping for very, very, very long time. Yeah.
Right. So as soon as it did start to drop, look at what the price did. It was down here at 2,500. Mean dollar invested age starts to drop, and the price goes up another 72 to 80% or so.
Yep.
But that's about it from my end. Maxim, final things you may want to look at before we wish our audience a great weekend?
I'm not sure about if we look into it. Last time we mentioned that we keep observing money market, stable coins, what is the borrowing rate, what is the amount of being deployed. It definitely warmed up quite a bit last 3 days. I think yesterday I even shared it on our Discord channel, in a pro channel for subscribers, because it was obviously a hit signal. Not ultimate yet. At the moment, we see anyway between 5 and 8%, which historically, okay, signs of warming up, quite warming up, but not ultimate. Ultimate, when it's really, really top and need to run, it's when we see spikes 15, 17, 20% across different protocols. We can check it next week. Because it's interesting to look current readings and past readings. And I need to add a few things we have now with Curve and Morpho. Our guys developed nice metrics. I haven't ended to watch it out yet. So we'll look into it next week. And current readings are twofold. Warm enough to assume there is quite some leverage in the system. And if it can, it will be punished, but not super extreme when I would say run. Yeah. So 4,2, I'm not sure 3,8 until now, more like 4,2, 4,3. Those who missed out probably will start buying this level quite massively. Don't know about Bitcoin. There I didn't pay too much attention, mostly about Ethereum. And if we move there and stay in the level 4,2, this is where we might want to look into money market to see if it cools down. If across all protocols yield you get for giving your money cool down? If yes, okay, cool. Especially if it comes with liquidations. Very good. We're prepared for next bull run, but this will topic for the next Friday.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that discussion with you, Maxim. I think you studied that topic quite a bit, and I'd like to hear your thoughts more. But
I like looking into it. It's very nice. It's still there is one not 100% clear for me parameter that there are generally much more stable coins in the market, USDC, and Ethena, and I think we need to start distinguishing one are more vulnerable for liquidations and impacting volatility or making prices to go lower than they rationally should be there, like Ethereum. Others like USDC, they are used, especially USDC lately, quite a lot in borrowing and deploying in many different protocols. I have not understood yet the difference. How should we treat them differently to see even a more deep picture? So this is parameter I don't understand yet. But regardless, there is so many things to share for what we understood already, which we can address next time. Yeah, we just learn together. It's a very interesting field. I know that people normally look into stable coins pools and liquidity from point of where I put my money, and it's the right way to do it. We do it too, but it's only one part of knowledge. 50% even less. The bigger part, and not I haven't seen at least somehow people talking about how you understand dynamics in the market, which are reflecting fear and greed of participants, or fear of missing out, and moments of liquidating the blood on the street. It has been working very good from 22, 23. Last year was amazing. So I assume it should be working still. And we can spend next time on it again. I think we do it from time to time, but we can do it more time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Max. And thank you for the thoughts there. And I thank everyone for joining for the stream today. Obviously, it's an exciting time for crypto. We don't intend to tell you to buy or sell. That's not our objective here on our live streams. We don't give investment advice. We simply read what our metrics are indicating and base it on what we've seen in the past if we see these patterns right now. So there are some warning signs, and we just have to be cautious and careful, considering the crowd is showing some signs that they're very excited and they're salivating and trying to buy everything under the sun.
Yes.
So
still.
Still. So let's be careful. Watch the metrics going into the weekend. We'll have some updates for you on our Insights page and social media. And thank you for joining today, Maxim.
Yes, Brian, thanks for running as always, sharing all screens and chat. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just to, it's not that we are against of sharing our attitude to market, and between the lines you can read what we say. Just everyone owns risk tolerance or pain tolerance is so different. It's not very good to say, okay, you buy. And what if you cannot sustain? Then you need to say which percentage of a portfolio, because risks vary, and there are times you can go like 50% long, other times you only risk 5%. So it's a complex. The complexity of how to maintain portfolio. Not that I super professional in it myself, and neither it's a main topic of our conversation, because it's not our main expertise either. The basic rules are relatively simple. So therefore, we, as Brian said, mostly focus, patterns, what we see, what we saw in the past, how we position it on on-chain social data. And for Comma 2 seems slightly in Ethereum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Great points, Max. And thank you for running the stream today, Max. And we will chat with you all next week. Take care.
See you next week. Bye.